presentation of going through line item by line item by line item. We've done that to death. I think everybody understands what each department funds. I'll do a macro level of the departments where we're at. You know, projections for next year. I'm gonna learn to keep my hands. Do that too much, but try to do that, keep it at a macro level on the finances. And then, but we have some discussion too, you know, some discussion we need to talk about, you know, where we're going, but how we're going to get there. So, you ready?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
No, I saw on Facebook, I think.
It's the door of the world.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yes, you can rush and get your.
Are we ready? Okay, so as I mentioned, you know, we're gonna start budget presentation, so we're gonna do a little different this year. We're not gonna go over line by line. But we'll go over topics and talking points, you know, where we need to be. Okay, so budget presentation for this year, it funds all the borough services, current levels with the current number of employees. No new employees proposed, there's no proposal to lay off employees. Continues to provide funding for construction of municipal building. There are some equipment listed in this budget, which we can talk about later, but one of the things, you know, if you've seen on Facebook this week, no recycling. That's the truck, the truck is dying a slow death. Two pickup trucks in DPW and another one with the park and dumpster in it. That truck's about 10 or 11 years old. Also, if you remember correctly, we got a match, or we got a grant through Edgewood to do all the traffic signals on South Braddock Avenue. There is $32,000 match which we're responsible for. So there's you know, basically, you know, we own about half the intersection side, and Edgewood owns the other half. And basically, if you look where the boxes, that pretty much tells you wrong. On our side, it's on their side. And we insure them, we pay for them, you know, maintenance at different intersections, even though some of the intersections are split. You know, like we take the South Braddock intersection, the entire town center, for all maintenance and stuff like that. But those are all getting replaced. They were the contract, I believe, in August. And they are, you know, all the equipment's ordered, but there was a 20% match, which is $32,500. That's in the DPW budget. If you look at that's where we're. So that's $32,000 will be a one-time expenditure in there, and it'll be out the following year. There's another $6,000 in there for retiming of all the signals after bridges one, after Washington Street Bridge one. No sense trying to do it while they're doing, before they do Commercial Street Bridge, no sense trying to do it before Washington. It's, you know, it's just a waste of money. So we'll do that probably next fall. Hopefully we have a big be done. And we can get some time so for the awful travel for that's $6,000 cost that's in the DPW budget also. So that artificially inflates that budget a little bit. Also provides funding for police regionalization that we all know is a little more than, you know, what the current costs are. So where are we? We're at the point where we need to make some decisions about doing it because of dwindling revenues and increasing expenses. When we passed budget 2024 for 2024, I warned council that we probably need some tax increases on file. We were able to avoid that by raising the trash fee to reflect the actual costs of the trash. We increased some building permit fees and lien letters, stuff like that. And we transferred money from the previous year's surplus to the general fund to fund the 2025 budget. Remember, that's how we did it. No tax. There will be no surplus in 2025. Because a couple things. Building permits, which we estimated higher with the new increase, they actually dropped pretty bad. Just obviously, nobody doing a lot of projects. Sure. Occupancies are down a little bit. But the biggest thing is the trash, the trash, amnesty program. We collected $60,000. Without the amnesty program, we collected 170 last year. So we lost under $10,000 out of our revenues. So there won't be a surplus. Now, I'm hoping revenues are much higher next year on garbage. Because, they haven't been prosecuting anybody this year because we had the amnesty program. So next year, starting first, go back to, but, sending letters, filing charges. Hopefully that comes back and a little bit more because there's been some more, last year's the one that's got out on there. So there's no surplus projected for 2025. So there's no money to transfer to help the balanced budget like we did this year. So the major cost drivers in any municipal budget, this is our budget, this is everybody, wages, number one, healthcare, insurances, workers' comp. Those first four are all employee driven. Normally, 80% of your budget is employee for wages, insurance, healthcare, workers' comp. But also utilities, everybody's electric bill just is going up December 1st. You're hearing on the news. They've gone up a lot in the last 10 years. And I keep saying 10 years. The reason I benchmark it on that is because other than the one bill that we raised tax for to pay for the borough building, that's the last time tax rate was in 2015. Our landfill fees are up. Everything's up. There's a little more detail on the next slide. So the wages, our wages are up about 50% in the last, this is 11 fiscal. We're going from 2015 to 2026. The insurance premiums, up 100%, double what they were 11 years ago. Healthcare's, the oldest healthcare numbers we had in 2017. So they're up 60% since 2017. Our workers' comp more than doubled since 2017. Utilities, I didn't bother pulling them. We know the water, the gas, the storage, the rental area. Landfill fees have increased 100% in the last 10 years. Recycling fees have increased 285% in the last 10 years. Fuel costs, believe it or not, are only at 30%. They spiked. They're up 100% about the back now. So, this year, right now, it's up 30% over 10 years ago. You look at the prime rate, 3.5%, 2015, 7.25% in 2020, 2025. Which, we've been doing a lot of borrowing lately from borough building or TAN loan interest, 5 years ago, we were paying about 1.8% on TAN loan. Next year, we're paying 6. So, these are things we can't control. These are things out of our control. Vehicle costs for a pickup truck's up about 48%. A garbage truck's up 100%. The $156,000 truck that we bought in 2015 is now $320,000. So, it's just COVID killed everything. And it's going to kill birds. It's going to kill every municipality. So, with the exception of the one mil tax increase to fund the borough building, the design and the debt service, council has not changed the village since 2015, 11 fiscal years, even during the unprecedented inflation around the COVID. Everybody knows how about that. Garbage treatment, we've only done one garbage increase. Last year. Here's a big problem. Allegheny County has reassessed any properties in 12 years. Okay, I know no one ever wants to do a reassessment. That one. The problem is they use something called the common level ratio to determine what property assessed at every year. So that common level ratio right now is 52.7%. It's going to 50.14%. What that means, buy a house for $100,000. They'll assess it at $50,140. Common level ratio is 81.1% in 2022. You bought a house in 2022 for $100,000. You paid $81,000. Your assessment is $81,100. People can go in and appeal that now and say, hey, it's worth less. And that was because it's dropped, it went to 63.6% 23, it's like 54.5 and 24, and it's 52.7 now. Problem is, we can't fight that. We cannot go to county and say, you know, hey, they paid $400,000 for that house for 500,000. They're gonna say, it's okay, the assessment's too big. You know, an old realtor told me many years ago, there's only two things that set the value of a house. Willing buyer and willing seller. You sell it to me for the price that I want to pay, yes. That's the only thing that says about it. Somebody agrees to pay 500,000 for a house, somebody agrees to sell for 500,000, that's worth 500,000. According to the county, it's worth a little over 250. And that's a huge problem, and our collections have actually dropped on the real estate this year. Primarily due to that. People are, you know, everybody used to complain about, welcome to Swissvale, well, you know, welcome to Monroeville, welcome to wherever, here's your new tax bill, you know, it went up. Because of, you know, they run their assessed figures. Now it's welcome to Swissvale, welcome, you know, welcome everywhere else. Here's your tax bill going down. So the property tax revenue accounts for about 30% of our general fund revenue. And it's one of the few things we control. It's one of the very few things. Earned income tax, local services tax, realty transfer tax, the RAD tax, they're all set by state statute. You can't change it. We get 0.5% of our earned income tax. We get $2 a week for every employee that works in Swissvale and business. The realty transfer tax, we get 0.5%. And the RAD tax, nobody knows what that formula is, checks on every month. And we just, you know, we live with it. I mean, that does go up a little bit every year, but when there's a economic downturn, that goes down. Because in 2024, that came up about $19,000. So we're back up, you know, we're back up a little bit higher. But, and the only reason that's going up though is because the cost of everything is going up, so the sales tax on it. But the point being, only thing we can really change property tax rate, everything else is set by state law. So our revenues aren't keeping pace with the expenditures. The amount collected through property tax millage has increased 5.5% since 2014. If you take that one bill out, it's increased 5.5. That's from a lot of reassessments, you know, going up, and that common level ratios. Now it's starting the other way. The earned income tax revenue has increased 43% since 2015. That helps us every year. You know, projected, I talked to Keystone about it, basically go 3.5% for next year. And that's about what it was this year. So 3.5% on $1,330,000, about $50,000. So that helps also. Our cable TV franchise in 2015 was, we get 5% from the cable providers who provide cable, which is Verizon and Comcast. That's dropped from 158,000 to 105,000 because everybody's got more. Streaming services are not included in cable TV franchise. Our real estate tax collection rate is going down almost 1.1%. That's $35,000 that's dropped. One recent tax appeal, we just paid this the last bill run. Parkway Union Development Corporation, which is the town center office bill. They got their assessment reduced over $2 million. So that's gonna cost us over $20,000 next year budget. And we had to refund them $31,000 because they got lowered for 22, 23, 24, 25. Now, the first year went down like a $500,000, then it went to like 800,000, and then full reduction was this year at $2 million, went from $1.99 million to $2.99. So we lost $20,000. We're going to lose over $20,000. Police department is what it is. You know, we all knew the numbers going in. We talked about 4% increase overall, we're a little over 4%. But keep in mind, 4% is over $100,000. There's things that come out of our budget though, too, because of the, you know, we were patrolling in Braddock Hills 48 hours a week for $82,000 a year. The MMO, the MMO, we put in pension, $270,000, goes to the police department. So it doesn't go to us, it's their expense, but it's income came to the borough, so overall, it's, a little over 100, $100,000+ swing fund for the police department. Fire department, no issues there on budget issues. Problem is, they go out of town more than they are here. They respond to tons of out of town calls because during the day, there's no volunteers around to respond. That's something that I think we need to change or try to change, and it's gonna be a long, hard battle. But I think these companies need to start paying this. I would never say that we need to eliminate firemen, eliminate fire department, anything like that. Because everybody's gonna end up, we're way ahead of the curve, pay fire department. In the next 10 years, I think there's going to be multiple regional fire departments paid at least during the day. Or maybe in the evening a little bit, because, everybody works daylight. When we were kids, our parents worked at the Mills or Westinghouse, they work around the clock here, they work 3 shifts. Most places work 1 shift. So everybody's working during the day. There were volunteers available during the day all the time, because they work overnight, they work afternoon shift. There were always people there, volunteers all the time, well, also here and everywhere else. So that's something, that I think we need to take up in the future, is to start talking to our neighbors and say, look, we want to help you. We can't do it for free. They don't have budgets for fire, but they're not using them because they don't go on calls. They all have expensive equipment, but we use ours instead. Our stuff breaks while they're out on calls. Our stuff gets damaged. Our employees get hurt. We had an injury in, I think it was in North Bradford a couple of years ago. Gentleman tore his rotator cuff, pulling the ceiling down for hospitals. $87,000 claim. Our here. Because it's our employee. Doesn't matter where they're working. So that's a lot of problems. Those are none of the problems. This is more saying the revenue's not keeping pace. I didn't before that. So here's where we're at. This, like I said, we'll do the macro, we're not gonna get into line item by line, do the macro scale where we're at. You see the 2025 budget there, we had $9.477 million in revenue, what was budgeted. Now, if you remember last year's budget, it showed like a $19 million budget. I took out the extraneous stuff, which is all the pass-throughs, which is we draw down $500,000 for the borough building, and you go capital to fund the pay. It has to be shown, recognized as an income and an expense in the budget. So that just gone too much. So for purposes of presentation, I told that, and then in capital projects, we do, streetscape project or whatever. That had the same thing, flows in, flows out, after capital. Now, the budget that gets advertised, you'll have that all in one section at the bottom. So we'll have our general fund budget, our pass through, but be like this is pass through, and then the total. So the total is going to be around we got borough building, which is expensive project. But the actual expenditures outside of capital spending and grant projects, you can see are down 6.27% for the year. Real estate taxes, I dropped by $150,000 because it dropped this year. Less people are paying and the valuation is going down. Rather, I pumped up based upon what we're seeing right now. Talk to Keystone. I apologize, that 2.4 is wrong. It's 3.5, $50,000. Licenses and permits I dropped down just to reflect what's going on. Here's the big one, and this is another problem. Fines and enforcement dropped $30,000 from the budget. Now it was down 2 years ago also. I kept it up this year in the budget to try to make a balance and also hoping things would change. The problem is since COVID, less tickets. But since we hired Mark Lukac, public service specialist, he's written over 400 tickets. Okay, handicap parking violations, $100 a piece. Fire hydrant violation, parking close to the fire, park in front of the fire hydrant. Parking the wrong direction. He really hasn't done a lot of that. He just kind of started with that. We've been phasing these things in, to try to get compliance. And like I said, Mark's written about 400 tickets so far. The problem is not the number of tickets being written. The problem is that people don't pay the tickets. Our recourse is we file a citation, we take it to court. Magistrate says, go, Swiss don't pay it. They come over, they give us $45, penalty. However, if they don't respond to the citation, magistrate says, go to Swiss don't pay it, they go. See you, judge, they walk out. There's really nothing we can do. This is stuff that we need to talk to our friends at the legislative level, Representative Salisbury, Senator Costa. They can change it. And it needs change because the system allows the people that skirt the law all the time continue to do it. If there's fine, if somebody gets a fine for disorderly conduct or something, you don't have to pay it back. So, it's fine there, go downtown, you don't pay there. They tell you, this is what's due, and you get the payment plan, you pay it in full. Go online and look, if there's anybody who's arrested, got disorderly conduct citation, got anything they're arrested. You go on the NOPC website, find the docket sheet and see what they were charged with, what they were found guilty of, whatever. You can also see how much they were fined. You can also see how much they paid. Majority of them, you look at it, they don't. And there's no repercussions for it. That's something we can't control. That's why the budget line item is now $30,000. Our people aren't, it's not that our people aren't doing their jobs. Code enforcement is doing the jobs, police is doing the job, Mark's doing the job. People are just thumbing their nose at the system.
I give you another quick example. We're under $30,000 fines levied by magistrate this year. Been paid less than 1,000. Quotes. That'll give you a clear idea.
Less than 1%. So we have no control.
So the parking tickets, we figured out that we're getting about 40%. That was 60% of them. Greg gave me the number of parking. And the time it takes to issue a citation.
So Mark's issued 400, 240 of them paid. I don't know what the police have issued, but when you put them all together, 40%. Have been paid. So we need to work on this. And like I said, it's a difficult thing. I don't want to dwell on too much because people watch it and say, keep my finger. But that's why that's down $30,000. Interest earnings are down because our balances have been lower and also the interest rates are just terrible. Rents and royalties are saying intergovernmental revenues dropped. That's where the money for the police department was, for policing in Braddock was. Departmental earnings, that went up because of the ranking contract for trash collection. Solid waste revenue up a little bit for next year. Miscellaneous receipts, and it's down a little bit. The interfund transfers, there was, I've been rattling on so much, my brain's still breaking.
Police, pension.
Oh, there was that was ARPA funds. There was transfer from ARPA funds of $250,000 last year.
Where is the police pension?
Oh, the police pensions in the, police is in the, CWP. Police pensions under 350 intergovernmental revenue, so that's why that's now, that's out there in the, oh yeah, the departmental earnings, if you look at departmental earnings, should have gone up $175,000 because of the ranking contract for garbage. It didn't go up as much because we lost 82,000 from that's where that's reported from the Braddock Hills contract. Intergovernmental 250 or so that we got in the state aid for the pension, that's where that was under item 350. In the TAN proceeds, we bumped up to $1 million and because we have the payments we need to make to the police department every month starting on January 15th, which, is like $240,000. We don't usually spend $240,000 on policing in January or February, just typically wages. Like when we buy cars, we try to buy them in the summertime or they're delivered in the summertime, so the payments are due when our revenues are higher with the, from the, property tax. Most of our loan payments are all due in the summertime for that kind of stuff. But that's why we borrowed $1 million. And the other thing too, is I was talking to Clyde, the entire time he was manager, they borrowed $600,000. So I mean, it's been 11 years since that was increased. And as you saw price increases, we need to increase the borrowing, but also increases the interest. So if you can see, if you look down the right-hand side there, all the different, these are all the different budget part codes in the budgets, codes in the budget. General government went up 30.7%. That's because the council salaries were amended. So that the new council members will get the higher increase. That's why that's up 37.7%. That's a one-time deal because it's in 2 years and you go up for the other three that are elected 2 years, but after that, that'll stabilize. Administration's up 2.49%. You can see everything legal, I took down 20% because the police department will have their own legal, and a lot of our legal fees are for police related issues, arbitrations, mediations, and that. Buildings and plants is up because we have not had a maintenance service contract for cleaning for the last 3 years. So we had to include that in there. We have an elevator maintenance agreement in there. That came out of budget a couple of years ago. We have to go back in. So we saved some money for a few years on that. Police department, the actual number, now that's, keep in mind, that's gonna fluctuate. We don't know what that final is till we get all the insurance costs, all the sanction costs, all the workers' comp. And those are in process. We got some movement on the insurance, on the liability and vehicle insurance today. I got some numbers on that. So, and they were good. They were less than what we budgeted in the police department budget. So we need to tweak those numbers, which I'm gonna work people out tomorrow. Tweak some of these things. And because he needs to present it to the police board on Monday, so they can advertise it and get it adopted sometime before the end of the year. But you see that one went down. Fire and code went up.
Real quick, Greg, it looks like it went down, but it's not actually cheaper than what we did last year because it doesn't take into account. Or on that side, it's taking into account the lost revenue that we had.
Correct, the expense, on the expense side, it went down, but there are lost revenues on the other side to talk about, so like I said, difference around $1,000 swing. On things. Planning zoning, no change, recycling collection, still 21.2%. I did put funds in there to purchase for down payment of the recycling truck. The old one is in poor condition, it's 12 years old, I mean, it's been out of service most of the last 2 weeks. It actually is in the vehicle replacement schedule for replacement this year. What's that? It's a diesel. Yeah. Well, the problem is, like I said, we talked about the electric, all electric at once. What we found was a smaller diesel truck, $211,000, corresponding electric is about $500,000, which we can't do that in budget. But the problem too is the ordering time on that stuff is like, so we're proposing to buy a smaller truck. We have the big truck right now, 25-yard truck. Really not necessary to be that big. They go to the landfill twice a week. They go on Tuesday and Friday. They can go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Smaller truck like they make 8-yard trucks and 11-yard trucks. Dealers bring A&H Equipment's bring out one for us to look at tomorrow and see like what, what the actual size of the parts. We can see like what we can get on it.
We also get rental prices.
I'm sorry.
We also get rental prices.
We can, but we've rented trucks before and they're like 25,000. Because when we had the garbage truck accident in 23, yeah, we had to rent it for 25,000. And the insurance paid $150 a day for 30 days. So, solid waste collection is up because the contract with Rankin So, that went up. Public Works up 3%, but if you take out the $38,000 that I had mentioned. For the traffic signal, maps and traffic signal, retiming, we're actually at $3,000 increase. So, they're down, 40%. Now some of the guys were moved. 3 guys, one day a week were moved into the, solid waste budget. Because they're doing racking, so their costs will move over there for their employee costs. So like the DPW budget, that's like 7.2 full-time employees. The recycling is 2, and the garbage, I think, is 5.8. This is the way it works out to be the time they work on the jobs. Recreation, sand, culture took down. The only thing, there was money in there for the Pride Month celebration, which we haven't used for a few years, so I did take that out. Debt service is up. Now, that's associated with the building. But in last year's budget, we moved the full mill taxes in 2025 budget over to the capital fund to pay the expenses for the engineering and stuff for the building. So that's $311,000. If you take 300 in this year's budget, I just left it on the general fund because it's easier talking points to explain to everybody to see the actual cost of what we're spending. Because that's not a one-time, if we do a streetscape project, it's a one check, you write one check. I just left it in the general fund so you can see it. But if you take 311 out of the 1,530, we're actually like at 1,220. So, the debt service is similar. Employer taxes on unemployment comp. They changed since the pandemic on how they charge us. They used to charge us, if you paid what they call the solvency fee, you wouldn't have to pay any charges. So if you laid off, terminated someone and they collected benefits, you wouldn't have to pay any charges if you paid the solvency. Solvency used to be $5,000 to $6,000. Now, if you don't pay the solvency fee, you get charged the entire amount of what they get. So if they get $580 a week, we're charged $580 a week after we terminate them. So the solvency fee for this is $7,200, but we also have the right to, if you don't pay the solvency fee, you can't object for request for relief. Okay, and we do still get, instead of getting hit in at 100%, still get hit about 30%. We had a finance committee meeting Monday, and I mentioned the gentleman who worked here for 2 weeks, a year and a half ago. We're getting surcharges for him because he's currently unemployed. We're paying for him. That's just how the system works. So we had to bump that up to cover that. Insurances I took down, probably will be able to take that down about $15,000 more based on what David Mike told me today about the police budget. To come on, most of them come on. And the miscellaneous transfers that were in there. They dropped quite a bit and part of it was COVID money that we transferred and it's miscellaneous transfers and others. So that was, the transfer was to capital fund, $311,000. For the, there's like 250 some thousand COVID money, $311,000, the capital fund. So if you see, that's where the proposed spending is. It's actually a little bit lower than next year to have that lower, but the problem is the revenues are much lower. Okay, so there you go. There's the projected revenues at 8.8 million. The expenses may come down slightly because, as we adjust some things in the police department based on the insurances that the numbers that we've received. A couple other things, there may be some slight adjustments there. We're looking at over $422,000 deficit next year to fund what we just talked about. So moving forward, what do we do? I mean, to fund this, you'd have to raise taxes, 1.36 mils. I mean, that's a decision council's gonna have to make. But if you don't do something, we're gonna have to lay people off. The only place you can lay people off is DPW. Because police have minimum staffing, fire has minimum staffing. Eliminate the crossing guard, but it's not much of a savings. We only spent $39,000 a year on crossing guards. We spent $78,000, but school district reimbursement was half of it. There's not a lot of fat in the budget. We could tweak a few things here and there. To get that down, but we need direction on what you want to do. Now, what I'd recommend going forward is that you raise taxes every year. I've told people this, I've told many people on council this over the years, some that are still here, some that are not. You should raise, even when you don't need a tax increase, you should raise it every year. If you raise it 1/10 of a mil every year, okay, nobody's gonna notice. I mean, if your tax bill is $600 and your goes to 606, and we're really going to notice that 50 cents a month. Especially people who pay it in their escrows. So the biggest thing, if you look at this, you raise it 1/10 of a mil a year, just 1/10. So this year you're gonna collect 1/10, next year you're gonna collect 2/10, next year you're gonna collect 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 years out, you're gonna collect 1 million. So what am I asking you to do right now? Raise it 1.36. We could probably drop that down, we can think around. Figuring out different financing for the recycling truck, push it off here or whatever, we'd probably bring that down. But if you would raise taxes 1/10 of a mil, so if you raise a 1 mil this year, you're gonna collect $311,100. So after 11 years, we're gonna raise, if we raise taxes, we're gonna collect that. If you raise it 1/10 of a mil every year, 10 years, you're gonna collect that much, $1,711,000. Okay. Well, you notice that 1% in your budget. And then you could probably avoid some of these big increases. The median home value in Swissvale, according to Allegheny County, is $65,000. That is as per November 14th. You raise it 1/10 of a mil, it's $6.50. That'd be your increase. The other thing is segregate the trash out of the general fund. And have a separate fund or separate line items for it, and just run it like a business. If Biggs comes in and says, hey, we need $950,000 to collect your trash this year, we're gonna take $950,000 divided by 3,500, there's the price. We're doing it on our own, why shouldn't we do the same thing? Because we're providing a service, we need to get out of the mindset of, we're the borough, we're not Biggs, we're not Jacob, we're not Waste Management, we're not Republic. We need to get to the mindset of these things like this, where we're competing against large corporations. We're doing it cheap. But we need to think about it as a business model, and fund the trucks, have a replacement schedule for them. Fund those, fund it all through that. Or come up with an idea that every year we raise it like as per the consumer price index. If CPI goes up 2.7%, raise the trash fee 2.7%. I know nobody wants to hear raise, increase. But 11 years with no tax increase, see what's happening. Nobody wants to raise taxes, me included. But I've been doing this for 34 years. Tax increases, fee increases are necessary. If you're in Cranberry Township, if you're in Pine Township, Richland, they haven't raised taxes in 30 years. Because they get 200 new homes built there. Because their average taxpayer pays, makes $250,000 a year. They get that earned income off of that. Our average taxpayer does not make that kind of money. Our average taxpayer makes $50,000 to $70,000 per home. Our average value is $65,000. Theirs is $400,000 plus 200 new homes every year. They can keep the taxes, they can keep the taxes at bay just because of natural increases in assessments. We can't do that. We don't have new development. You know, so you have to look at other things and like I said, you know, run the trash a little differently. But moving forward, I mean, there's a lot of things we can do. I mean, and talking to the finance committee about this, you know, we have a lot of, you know, we talked about all these vacant parcels that are out there. You know, we start identifying them and start notifying the neighbors, hey, you can get this parcel. This can be yours for $2,500, whatever the case may be, whatever the county wants for. It gets it back on the tax rolls. You know, it's not a lot of money, but it gets back on the tax rolls. Targeted sheriff sales. President Ansel had, taken some of his ARPA money, put it into a fund to have a targeted sheriff sale. Once one gets done, move to the next one. We did identify 7430 Irvine Street as the first one, so that one's in process right now to be sold. It's a house that's still in good condition, been vacant for a number of years, the roof's still structurally sound. There's really not a lot of issues with it, other than nobody lives there, they have paid taxes. So we're going after 7430 Irvine Street right now. When that one sells, we'll get the money back that we paid, and then we'll move on to, you know, we'll identify the next one and move on. So we'll be more proactive. You know, we need to be more proactive, stuff like that. But we need to work with our representatives and our senator and other senators and representatives to suggest, you know, legislation that can help us enhance our revenues. You know, maybe if you have parking tickets and traffic citations, you don't get your registration reviewed on your car. I'm not afraid to suggest that to them. They would have to take it forward, see what the rest of the legislature would think. But I think when you talk to them, you have to understand with, you know, Representative Salisbury has a better understanding than most other people. Because she was council member, she, you know, council president for a while. Others don't, because they've never worked at the local level. They've never been in your position in the CNC. They've never been in my position. So it'll probably be a learning curve for them. So all the things I just talked about, they don't know that we're struggling with. It's not just us, it's everybody. There's legislation pending currently, about to allow municipalities to increase the $2 weekly LST up to $6. Okay, and that's the money that I'm sorry, $2 there too. So to increase it up to $3, and that's the money where I pay for the privilege of working in Swissville. I pay $52 right now a year. Anybody that works in Swissville pays that $52. If you don't work in Swissville, you pay the word for it. And that's local services taxes fund. It's basically to fund, it was supposed to be originally to fund fire EMS to help with that. They initially called it the EMS tax, emergency. I forget what it was, but everybody just took it for, I'm not pay anything to the ambulance service anymore because I'm being taxed. So they changed it to LST. That was a number of years ago, maybe 8 or 9 years ago that happened. But I would encourage you, when that legislation comes up, if you're allowed to take advantage of it, take advantage of it. Because that's a tax that, you know, I'm not gonna say, lower, what's going on work, I'm paying $3 a week for the privilege of working here. I don't think anybody's gonna do that. You know, it's just a natural progression, but it will raise $200,000. Stuff like that, we need to, you know, when it comes up, we need to look at it quickly and seriously. Because that's what keeps the taxpayers having probably more money, our taxpayers. I will look at business privilege tax, amusement tax, to see if there's any adjustment possible there to create new revenue. We have a Main Street Matters grant pending, which when we applied for, we were given a pretty good indication it will be funded. So try to, you know, develop some strategies there, bring new businesses in, keep our current businesses. That's one of the problems though, is that's a multi-year thing. That's not immediate fix, but that's down the road, but we need those too. Last thing, continue seeking grant funding for critical infrastructure projects, doing that all the time. The only problem is, prior to COVID, there was always a match required. When COVID hit, we took the match off a lot of grant programs. It wasn't required. Taking advantage of that, got a lot of grants. Some of these programs are putting match requirement back on. And we can't apply unless we apply for 2 grants simultaneously and get both of them. We can't, we're not gonna, we don't have the money. Because what happened previously, the money would go, like some previous year surpluses were put in the capital fund. For those kind of things, for grant match, but with no surpluses. So this is the impact on property owners. I already said this. $65,000 of median home value. You have a bill currently of $585. If we went on 1.36 mils, it takes $673 or an $88.40 increase. On the median home value. If you don't know what median is, half the properties are assessed higher and half are assessed lower. It's not the average, median. So other topics of discussion, SOAR fund. So the balance is low. And we adjusted the rate for 2025. Still low, because we have a lot of projects we're paying for out of it. The outstanding rate is set to rise 7% again. And we have to pass an ordinance, pass a resolution at our next meeting, pass that on to the customer, to the customer. Borough can't fund that, it's not up to us to pay the extra money to the homeowners in turn. So we do have to pass a resolution, pass that on. And the other thing I would propose though is every year we look at this, we look at, is that money, is that fund, is it building the fund, is it funding itself? The answer is no, right now. But if we tie it to a percentage of whatever the outstanding fee is, and just leave it there, it should be self-funded for a number of years. And that's why I would encourage you to do at our next meeting, is to pass a resolution to put that at about 40% of what outstanding charges. If that would make it self-funded, because it's not keeping up with inflation, it's not keeping up with cost. We pay the street sweeping out of that. We pay the loan on the street sweeper, we pay the fuel, all that stuff. So there are a lot of stuff. Because it's all SOAR related. Because the consent decree requires us to sweep the streets, collect the leaves, get out of the sewer system.
So where's that money, so that, I know we're paying extra for outstanding, where do you collect it from, where? I know it's not in the garbage tax, which.
It's on your sewer. It's part of your sewer.
No, I know, because my school bill sucks.
Yeah.
It feels like it just went up. So that would be directly billed to the customer, not.
So it's the room is billed to the customer and then we'll report paying one rebate back again, send it back out. So it's on the water bill and it's part of that food bill, part of that fee goes to us already. Okay, I'm just proposing, rather than we talk about it every year, that we need to move it from 350 to 455. We said it's $40, 40%, it's about $6. But it's not going to have to be readjusted, and that would yield about $880,000 revenues to us annually. Part of the problem too is years ago, part of what balances this budget is we look in there, transfer from the SOAR fund, $350,000. A number of years ago, that was instituted because we had a very large balance in the fund, in the SOAR fund. And it was instituted to help balance the budget to pay for all the DPW labor throughout the year for SOAR-related projects, street sweeping, and street sweeper operator, all the guys collecting leaves, everything. Pay for out there. If we don't make that transfer, it's not a bill of taxes. Because that's part of what's been part of our budget for a long time. So, if we don't do that, we're down another bill. So the last two things to talk about are advertising the adoption meeting. We have to adopt the budget by December 31st. We have to advertise in 10 days in advance of any adoption. I did put an advertisement in that there will be for tomorrow, that there will be a budget available for review. Doesn't tie us to adopting that budget. We're allowed to make changes up until the adoption date. As long as we say that we have on the day of adoption, we've adjusted this. Basically, it can be generic if we've reduced $200,000 in revenue. found another 50,000 expenditures. Whatever, you just have to explain that, what the changes were. Now, we can't say, hey, we have a $9.3 million budget, now we have an $11.7 million budget. That's, you'd have to re-advertise, give people the opportunity for review again. So that ad will be in the paper tomorrow. We talked at the last meeting, at the agenda meeting, which I know I was MIA for quite a bit because I've had computer issues. Well, we set the meeting for December 17th, 7 p.m. When I asked, is it possible we can push that to Thursday, the 18th? The only reason for that is I have to advertise millage ordinance next week. It has to be advertised 7 days before the within the week of the adoption. It can't be 6. So if we do it on the 17th, it's only 6 days. Now, there's work on it. I could put it in the Tribune Review, but I don't want to make it look like we're hiding it by putting it in another paper. I want to put it in the Valley Mirror, which is our newspaper of record, because that's who we appointed as the newspaper of record. I think all of you understand, we're not hiding anything, but I think some people might say, oh, you see that, but then it was, oh, yeah, but no. Like I said, we can do it on the 17th if you want to put it in the Tribune. I'm available both days, doesn't matter to me. I'm just saying, what's more cost effective. What's more transparent.
Regardless, it'll be virtual.
Be virtual, yeah, be virtual, and it doesn't need to be at 7 o'clock, I mean, 5 o'clock works better. Or whatever time works better for you guys. That's, just tell me what works for you guys, and I will make myself available, and we'll get you advertised.
And hopefully a short meeting, because we are discussing all of the elements now. It's really just a matter of approving.
It'd be approving the budget, approving tax ordinance, approving, fee schedule. Oh, one of the things I neglected to mention, fee schedule. I am proposing to increase the commercial garbage rates in the fee schedule for the customers that we have that, that aren't residential. We can never. So, the residential went up 28.57% last year. We need to increase that commercial, at least that, to prepare for it. Because they're getting scared. So I don't think we're gonna lose any customers because we're already way under what most of the folks all are. But we do need to, after 10 years, the civil landfill has gone up 100%. So we need to adjust those. That was like $7,500 in the budget. But that's where we're at. It's not a rosy picture. But for sustainability, for sustainability of the borough, sustainability is not just about green and buying electric vehicles and, recycling. Sustainability is about funding your departments properly, providing the services to residents come to expect.
It just, kind of along that lines of green, we've made decisions like purchasing hybrid police vehicles. We've made decisions that have tried to pursue our climate action plan that unfortunately costs more than just a standard gas powered vehicle would. So even some of this is results of decisions we have made, these small decisions, a couple thousand here and there that do add up.
Yeah, the hybrid police cars cost, $4,000 or $5,000 more than gasoline, it's as simple as like, we purchased a Tahoe for the fire department a couple months ago. And Chief Wilhelm said, well, which one do you want to buy? Red one or the black one? And council's decision was red, which was $3,000 more. I'm not faulting. I'm not pointing fingers. But I'm saying, a lot of this is, a result of our decisions, collectively, manager, council. And there are ramifications to it, a couple $1,000 here, there, everywhere. It adds up. But like I said, I'm comfortable. The budget that was presented funds everything in full. I'm comfortable that I can take a few things out of there, maybe move some things around, figure out the financing on the recycle truck. But that just pushes the payment off 1 year. So, instead of 7-year loan out to maybe. So there are things that we can do to bring that number down. Finance committee directive, thoughts, maybe you have one.
Well, should we talk about some of this during the actual meeting? Or like when we're over there?
Well, it's not an agenda.
Okay.
It's, this is the time to talk about it.
Okay.
You know, what-
So we're allowed to deliberate about this type of stuff.
Well, yeah, you're not making decisions, you're giving me a direction, you're giving me direction. of where you're going.
Can we start with the meeting? Time, setting that?
Yeah.
So how does the 18th work for folks? I see it not,
Or to work,
or
excited.
exciting. Do you want to keep it at 7 o'clock, or do you want to presumably do it, I see it here, 7 o'clock, we'll just keep it at 7 o'clock.
Okay, 7 o'clock on the 18th.
On the
Good for everybody? Okay. All right, I'll get that advertised. I didn't advertise the 17th yet. I'm gonna, wait till next week to do that. So I advertised the 18th as a special meeting. For the purposes of budget adoption, and we also have on there for police hire.
Yes,
Are you gonna be ready to hire on the 18th?
well, I mean, we need to know because we decided if you're not gonna be ready, we need to push the meeting back further or have a
Or have
extra
another meeting?
separate meeting.
What are we talking? Offline.
We are, yes. Awesome. Okay,
Okay, fair.
well, we'll just keep the 18th on for now. So directives. Can you restate what you're looking for from us?
Well, I mean, like I said, I can go back, I know 1.36 is not powerful, but it's a big increase. But let me preface this with this. We were at an event last night. I was talking to a former coworker of mine from 25 years ago. She's the manager at Scott Township. And she was telling me that they had to raise taxes 54% last year. Plum had to raise taxes almost 40% last year. Allegheny County raised taxes 36%. I'm not saying this to say ours is bad. I'm saying this to say, I don't want us to get to that point where we have to raise 54% one year.
But I think we also need to remember that we are in Allegheny County, so people homeowners did have recap taxes for a while. So the average home, at least that people that I've spoken with is $600 a year. So that's $50 a month, we're already being asked, so we need to keep that in mind as well, as we're looking at extra $9 to $12 a month.
Well, does anybody have an idea of what will be palatable? Because like I said, I need to, like I said, I can just push forward to and say on the 18th, here's what I'm asking you to do. But I don't want to do that. I want to work with you guys and say, what is it, what's the directive? We cannot fund our budget at 9 mils anymore. I mean, it's just because, like I said, things have gone up from 50 to 285%. It's the last time we had a tax increase. So we need to, look at it, and then we need to, as Chris and I were talking before this meeting, we can't make any decision on future rates, future tax rates, other than 2026. But I think we should at least agree to talk about it. Brittany, Chris, and myself were saying, we need to have more constant finance meetings and talk about these things, talk about strategies. But we need to keep on the forefront that, a small tax increase every year is not necessarily a bad thing, because like I said, if we would raise the 10th of mil for the last 10 years, we'd have $1.7 million we're sitting on, instead of, collecting about 300,000. It's things we need to, it's things we need to look at. I know it's a new concept for a lot of you. I really honestly don't know anybody that doesn't. I think it's something we should seriously consider, because you're not banging people at one time. And I mean, that's where we're at right now. I mean, if we get it down to 9/10 mils, 10% increase, it's a big, double digits is big. But it's not 54, it's not 36, and I don't want to be the manager who walks the council, comes to council one day and says, we need a 54%, 38%, 40% increase. I mean, I have about 7 years left to work. I want to keep these rates, where I can walk out of here if you keep me for that long. Not a small. But if I'm the manager until for the next 5, 6, 7 years till I retire, I want to walk out of here and say, hey, we all did the best for our community. I don't live here, but this is my community. I put that shirt on every day. It says Swissvale. this is my community. I spend more time here than I spend at home. You know, and I want this place to flourish. I want this place to thrive. But we have to make some adjustments.
I mean, I definitely can understand adjustments and I can see making adjustments. I'm also, as a homeowner, as everybody else here, and paying different taxes. I'm here, sewage bill is already killing me, right? I'm like, I didn't even use water. I was out of the house for like, what happened? And, you know, but a drop may have fallen in there and that drop of water was worth, you know, 5 times what it was worth coming into the house. And yeah, I do understand, you know, an incremental tiny increase. But I also feel the pinch, you know, you're not getting any more money from your paycheck. And I remember when I moved into this neighborhood, it was because it was affordable. And I don't feel it's gonna be affordable. I mean, I do understand we have to raise something, to be clear. I understand that we have to make some adjustments in different places and we need to look at where to make the adjustments. But I don't feel that, you know, pinching and poking left and right really fast is helpful either. Because I mean, I have a job, my husband has a job, and we're still, you know, this is gonna make a big difference. Yes, it sounds like it's gonna be, I don't know, we'll break down the numbers. But Allegheny taxes went up, and we're paying that. We are already paying an increase. I'm just pointing out that, you know, we have to do it so that it's not, once again, I'm a working adult, so I can imagine those who are on a fixed income looking at this coming in and being like, oh my God, right? It is hard to take. But I think that we definitely need to look at different strategies. It doesn't all come from one place, clearly. We definitely have to strategize how to get the money without making it all come from just one heartbreaking bucket. What to say?
So my suggestion, I mean, 1.36 seems very high. It is very high. My suggestion would be, you know, we talked about this as a finance committee, kind of looking at some of these numbers. I think that we could get away with the 3/4 mil increase, 0.75, to bolster those, that real estate income. And we've talked about some other avenues of potentially gaining some income or decreasing expenses that I think could potentially cover the gap there, of that. So that would be my suggestion, in terms of, it's an increase, not as substantial as 1.36, but it is an increase, and I think there's other things we have to do in the meantime to close that, whatever it would be, 0.51 mil gap between those. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on my way out, so I know my, what I have to say isn't quite as impactful, but, you know, I think to Greg's point, you know, yes, everyone's feeling it, the boroughs. And if the borough can't provide services to our residents, then, you know, like, we have to provide the same level of service that we are. You know, looking at this, I don't see anywhere real crystal clear where we can do a big cut and say, oh, okay, we're good. And so, oh, an employee, yeah, and unfortunately, I think in trying to minimize the impact this year, it's just gonna kick out right. And then next year, you're gonna hear this again, well, yeah, we only did it this much, but since we only did it this much, now the expenditures, you know, the costs are gone up. And now we're gonna have to do another, like, what looks worse? What looks worse, a single large millage increase? Or multiple years where we're trying to catch up constantly with all. If we can raise it enough to where we can say like, I mean, obviously nothing's for sure, but we're more confident that it's not gonna be an everyday thing, that it's like trying to do the fair thing. I think from an optics perspective,
if you're having to go every year and say, well, we're short again, time to raise millage again, short again, that gives a different, there's a different perspective to that than saying this is a one-time thing to get us back into a healthy place and hopefully we don't.
And I think that's kind of what we had discussed, is like if we're able to, and coming down to like a 0.75, that it's going to be enough. That we can take this next. Target those other areas, make money and feel like increase our revenues and everything, so that next year it's. Talk about bullet one, which will just give us more of a sustainment. You know, like, we're doing a bigger increase now. Still less than what would give us, cover everything, so. It's like. What we had discussed on Monday was to kind of find that middle ground.
Yeah.
Not doing a huge increase, and then it's all that gives us, I guess, a little bit more motivation to go back and kind of recalibrate on. Where we can increase revenue.
And the other thing I would say that Greg also said, and I think it's important, is. When it comes to things like the Aspire service. We do have the best of it. And we're providing that service to much more than just Smithville, and if we are not seeing. For the increased service that, the quality of service we have, if we're not seeing. Income from that, from the surrounding boroughs that don't have any of this coverage, like, that's a huge area where we find people. So. I mean, I just saw on Facebook today that Rankin doesn't even have a cloud one, right? And they're contracting some third party to even. Like, if we can find opportunities like that, because we have full working departments where we can help our communities, but they can help us, then, I think it's about being strategic and trying to jump on those opportunities. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's a pinch for everyone, and I think it's a pinch for the borough, and
Definitely think charging for responding to those calls, it's not going to be comparatively.
If we're paying for it, and then we have to pay, the coverage for someone getting hurt, and in those circumstances, we should definitely. Keep some funding.
Yeah, I just wonder where they're. Mutual aid, I don't know, where does mutual aid? And it's been. Starting begin, and how does that work? Right?
And that's what we're going to.
Those are
Yeah.
Those are things that we're going to explore, but right now, I guess what we're working on right now is, are we comfortable with like a 0.75? Or do we go with one for the 3 cents?
And just so you know, I tell Sarah this every year, and I told her this today. This is my least favorite day of the year. Because it's the day I have to bring you back and bring you the worst days. So. It's like I said, it's not something I want to tell you, it's not something I want to suggest. But it's reality, it's where we're at. It's just the pandemic, fallout from it, the cost of everything. It really, I mean, like I said, garbage trucks are $300,000 now. For a full-size truck, I mean, it's just crazy reality.
Welcome to the Borough of Swissville regular council meeting agenda for December 3rd. I'm gonna call this meeting to order at 7:11 p.m. Let's go through our roll call. Dr. Alfonso Wells,
Present.
Mr. Haynes,
Present.
Mr. Miser,
Here.
Mr. Quinn,
Not here.
not here, Ms. Stripling,
Present.
Ms. Swartzwelder,
Here.
Mayor Swartzwelder.
Here.
Wonderful. We are all, well, almost all here. Yes, Mr. is not here, as we said. Public comments. We have two public comments. First is Kim Miller to speak about the tree committee. So come on down.
Yeah, the one thing I'd like to say is, Saturday, November 22nd. We planted 25 new trees, it's supposed to be sweet. Want to thank Western Pennsylvania Conservancy for providing the money to the Tree Vitalize program. Our for helping host, for volunteers, else, at the borough, providing pizza for all volunteers. And most important is we got a really good group of volunteers this year. Wasn't terrible days, that's good. But we need that every time we get a bunch of trees in. Really appreciate the opportunity to come out.
And thank you. Next we have Mary Miller to speak about Setco, do the Setco update.
Hello, everybody. Just a couple real quick things. We have approved 35 Herb Field grants for a total of $8,331 out of our $10,000. So we still have some money left. So we're going to continue advertising it and hopefully we spend all of that money and see some good results in the borough. The veterans banners are up on the borough website. Photos of them. You know, it's been kind of a struggle to keep them up and keep them in good shape. Bad weather and all the construction and with the bridge out, people couldn't get to see all of them. So people wanted to be able to see them. So they're up on the borough website. I hope everybody gets a chance to look at them. You know, there's a lot of people spend time, you know, to memorialize their loved ones and so it's well. And Setco is proud to say we have two new Setco members, two Swissville residents, Shane Luxford and Amelia Marina joined Setco's board. So we are growing and that means we're gonna get busy and start moving forward.
Well, thank you so much. Our next item in the agenda, if you're following along, is a recognition of outgoing council members. We have two council members who I guess not their last meeting, we still have another meeting, but the last in-person meeting for Mr. Miser and Mr. Quinn couldn't be here with us this evening, but we have a plaque just to thank you for your years of service. Appreciated, I mean, both Mr. Miser's and Mr. Quinn's voice to the table, the ideas that and enthusiasm to council, and so will be missed. It's a shame we can't just. We have to keep our numbers of 7 and can't just build on what we have, keep you around and bring in some new folks that were elect. But yes, thank you. So I usually do. The next item on the agenda, recognition of donors of K9 ICSI could not be here this evening. So we are going to table that one for another opportunity. Next, we have a presentation from Kate Vanderwide. Come on down. You're going to talk a little about this partnership. I know we are all excited to hear about this. So feel free to stand right where that X is. And if you could just make sure to project.
Yes. Well, Beth, he's better. Let me know if you can't hear me. Chief Watson is passing some slides out. I brought enough for all the people who are listed on your last agenda, so there are not enough for but there should be enough for all your time. I'm Kate Vanderwide. I'm a project manager at Allegheny County Department of Human Services.
I'm John Schlinsky. I am previously the director of the A team, regional director of resources for development, the contracted provider.
So we're here at Chief Watson's in your invitation to talk about what, it would look like in your community. If you don't know about the Department of Human Services, I added some information, about the kinds of services they provide. One of the things that, Department of Human Services does is it oversees the mental health and behavioral health treatment system in Allegheny County. As part of our work to serve people better, in 2020, we oversaw a, crisis response, stakeholder group crisis response redesign, to look at improvements that we could make to the system. And the A team really fits into what those improvements, should include. The improvements that we wanted to see, obviously, were more places for people to go, so brick and mortar, more services that can help people, more helpers who actually exist, and that there was no wrong number. So no matter what, number you call and place you went, you get the kind of help you need. For people who call 911, for the individuals who call, the National Mental Health and Substance Use Crisis Hotline 988. We wanted them to be able to get a mobile crisis response so that they can get the help they need in the moment. If you look at the little flow chart, you know, call 911, you can get police, CMS, fire, or a VA team. If you call 988, you can talk to a call counselor, or you can get a mobile crisis response. Either way, that A team or the mobile crisis response can get you to the place that you need to be, can help de-escalate on scene. And we're gonna talk about how the A team, does that. We see the A team as a fourth branch of emergency services. So they can respond to 911 calls just as the other branches of emergency services can. There's two responders who could go out to respond, and John's gonna talk a little more about what they do when they're on scene. And then while we were designing the program, it was also really important to the chiefs who helped design it, as well as the DHS to include a follow-up component. So trying to make sure that you're not just helping people in the moment of the crisis, but helping to make connections to long-term care to reduce the chance of crisis in the future. A team launched in October of 2024 after about 2 years of planning with the Allegheny County Emergency Services that run the County One Center, four police chiefs in Monroeville, Penn Hills, McKees Rocks, and Allegheny County Housing Authority, and Department of Human Services. And we put out a request for proposal, and RHD's proposal won this public bidding process to operate the A team program. So we were really lucky to get RHD, and John will tell you a little bit about why that is, including the fact that they've already been running a alternative response program in New Orleans, and can bring some of that expertise here.
Thanks, Kate. So as Kate mentioned, we launched in October of 2024. We started off with 2 municipalities, Penn Hills, Monroeville. Since then, we have grown and partnered with 17 departments and over 20 different jurisdictions, including the housing authority, certain areas as well. Our program operates in response to 911 calls between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. each day. That timeframe is because of additional research. Around 85% of the calls we would respond to happen between that timeframe. We operate all year long, every single day of the year, and we serve all ages. No matter who we interact with, who we help. One misnomer that usually happens is that we are a mental health crisis response team. I like to say that we are a human service team. We help those in when they need it. So our team is made up of all first responders. I have over 30 employees that's on the team, every single one, regardless of the role, and respond to emergencies when they happen. I have first responders as we go out in the field. I have a clinical supervisor, somebody that's licensed through the state of Pennsylvania, a social worker, or a counselor that really oversees that shift, provides the support and interventions for those that go out in the field. And we have somebody that's at the desk that really helps coordinate crisis responders with law enforcement and county emergency services. And then there's a program director and clinical director that helps to do that, along with our fault. Thank you. Also, mentioned. Something else that needs to go to. Yeah. I always forget something. So how we choose to expand, since we started we're at 17, now we're here before you. We look at call volume when we're looking at municipalities. See if we can take them on manually with the amount of teams that we have. We look at response times. So our KPI, our outcome, our metric is to respond to a call within 30 minutes from when we get it. Our average response time right now is 18 minutes. So we look at the farthest point of one municipality to the farthest point of the other with the amount of teams that we have to see if we can take that on. And then we also look operationally as we grow, what makes sense as we move out from the center where those teams are located. Now, there are 3 different ways that we can respond to a call. That's a nice colorful page that you look at. We can respond instead of or in lieu of, at the same time as or after law enforcement arrive on scene. And this kind of gives you a little bit of a list, a few items that we can respond to. Someone's feeling lonely, they're depressed, they want someone to talk to, they need services. Someone is in a state of psychosis, they're wandering and don't know where they are, they might be trespassing. They respond to calls where somebody's run out of money at a hotel and they're trying to be charged for trespassing, they just have nowhere to go because they have no resources, nowhere to sleep at night. We go to retail stores, to loss prevention offices, if somebody stole something, they want to support their family or they're in need. And we really try to intervene there and connect people to the right resources at the right time. We intervene with the domestic arguing. You name it, there's so many, this is not an exhaustive list. If someone needs help, it's there. For the longest time, Chief Watson will tell you, law enforcement's the catch-all. They have to respond to everything. Unless it's medical, we can still respond to fire. Unless it's fire, we can still respond to fire. But everything else always went to law enforcement. And they always weren't the best response or didn't have the equipment to help them. So we're here to help supplement and support and partner with the other emergency services. What we ask is from the law enforcement partners that we have is if there's a history of physical violence, if there's threats of violence or the kind of property destruction, that we go at the same time. We go to see, make sure it's safe before we get in. If it's a medical emergency, if there's active violence happening, personal violence, weapon with intent to use it, we ask that they go and go to see who won't respond. And once they manage that situation, secure the weapon, they can also see help it out. We go to scenes where there's been criminal activity, someone's been arrested, but there's other family members there that are experiencing that trauma. They need support. That might be their main support system that was, arrested. So we're there to help connect them to existing services and provide. Now, how this works, it's actually quite simple. Whenever a call comes into 911, normally what happens is it goes to the appropriate emergency service. Law enforcement gets dispatched, they review the call, if it's eligible for us, they let emergency services know, and they call us and dispatch us. Regardless of the method. So while we're on route to the scene, we actually go through a little bit more security precautions as a team. Call the person that called 911, with a 3-way call between those in the vehicle and the supervisor. We let them know who we are, what we look like, that we're coming on scene, we ask them what's going on, we ask safety questions, if there's animals that are out and about, room, and lock them up, have a weapon, really verify that information. Once we get that, and we discuss, hang up with the individual and talk about the intervention, head to the scene, and then we do whatever we need to do to help that person. We have all kinds of supplies in our vans. We have clothes, blankets, food, water, hygiene products, teddy bears, just in case it gets there and they want a teddy bear to hold on to, fidget spinners, you name it. The list grows and grows every time I look at the van. So I don't know how they mention, but I trust certain people to manage it. We help them with those tangible goods. We will transport. So if somebody needs to go to the hospital, they voluntarily want to go, we'll take them. If somebody has, in collaboration with law enforcement and the county delegates is involuntarily being admitted, we will transport them. Sometimes that's less dramatic than us spending. If somebody needs to go get a PFA or EPFA, we'll take them down. If somebody needs to go to a friend or family place, whatever it might be to help them in that moment, to de-escalate them, address their need, we'll do it. We'll help them out, as long as it's safe to do so. So we provide screening tools, suicidality screening, substance use screening, lethality screening. We do a lot of different assessments on scene. Our goal is to try to de-escalate, find a baseline, and then connect with the services, which would be within 24 to 48 hours. Our goal team relentlessly tries to connect that person, connect with them, and if we can't, we knock on their door, try to meet them face to face, to really build that rapport and connect them to something that would sustain them all the time. See that on that active system. So.
There's a few other slides that you can look at. One is just some stats from the first year of operation. The other, as you can see, 94% of the time, the A-team arrives within 30 minutes of the call. There's information about the different response types. You know, as departments get started with the A-team, oftentimes they opt towards a secondary response that they get used to calling the team and get used to working with them, and then kind of shift towards an alternative response when they understand what the team can handle. There's also a list of a very non-exhaustive list of the places that have started operating alternative response programs. We've been able to learn from them, bring the things that make sense here, leave the things that don't make sense there. And then additionally, there's some safety stats from the programs that have done some evaluations of their programs. No injuries, no deaths, very low calls for backup, oftentimes for transportation and safety issues. We are really excited to bring the A-team here. If you all are excited to have us, we've been talking with Chief Watson for a few months. And we started in Penn Hills and Monroeville, and so we've been, doing that slow wave west. And yeah, that's.
We average about 45 calls a day at this point. Any questions? Hey. Yeah.
How much does it cost?
It's funded by Allegheny County Department of Human Services.
Our time calls.
Yeah. Unless you meant like what the annual budget, but in terms of what it costs the municipality, it does not.
And this also works hand in hand with the.
Yes.
It sounded very.
Yeah, so if 18 gets called to a scene and it is a situation where the individual has criminal history as well as frequent encounters with law enforcement or the chance of frequent encounters with law enforcement, John is able to, his staff is able to refer them to the lead team, and the lead team can take it from there. So we've already had a few referrals to lead through his work in like Wilkins and Churchill.
What do you need from us?
It depends on you all. We don't require anything but you all saying sounds good and Watson saying sounds good. Some places have,
Written a letter.
Some places have said sounds good. So it depends on how your norms usually work here.
Just to clarify, the decision on if you would be responding to an incident, is that handled out of county dispatch? As opposed to, or can an officer get on scene and say, hey, this may be something better?
It works.
Primarily, right now, it works through law enforcement. So every call goes through the officer that's being dispatched. So one thing I forgot to mention is that prior to launch, sit down, be trained with every law enforcement officer in the field on how to distinguish the call for eligibility, the process, and how to get us on scene what to expect.
Well, as we learn like what kinds of calls the A-team's able to go to and be successful at here, and I'm not sure you all know, but Allegheny County Emergency Services just started using like a different type of call coding system to code their calls. It's a standard system that's used across the country, has a lot of information with each code that they code the calls with. And so we're able to know a lot more about what is gonna be at the scene based on the call type that's selected. So we're hoping we'll be able to move some of the decision-making with municipalities and police chief support to the Allegheny County Emergency Services, but it won't really be decision-making there, they'll be doing the actions that you've all decided here. But today it goes through police.
So then let me ask this, we're in the middle of created a police department.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you, chief. She's doing an awesome job. Pulling us together. So we've got Braddock Hills and Smith.
Yep.
We're gonna have one force. What does that do?
We've already discussed that and they would take off Radicals.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
We do that in Eastern
The
Region.
more the merrier. Yeah. We'll probably try and talk to Braddock
Probably have
Hills
this-
leadership as well, just to be sure.
Yeah.
As far as elderly health and human services needs, I mean, we have a career fire department. We run about 1,200 EMS contacts a year through that. And a lot of times we will find incidences where these elderly people need assistance and it's difficult, especially if it's not during business hours, to really reach out to the Department of Human Services. Is this something that you would?
Yeah,
Be
we're
able
just
to address-
branching out into the other emergency services arm, so have a few meetings set up with EMS agencies and can talk with you too. It requires different processes at ACES in terms of training their staff and making sure they know how to get the right unit assigned to the right call. So I want to say we can do that, but it'll be like a process to get to where.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
you could always. Hear most.
I'll call the police and tell them to call the intake tax. Because we even run into this whenever we deal with some code enforcement issues and other
Yeah.
things, welfare checks
Yeah.
that aren't. That the police may not necessarily be involved in because they're busy enough.
Yeah.
And we could use that resource. That's what I was curious, when you say someone needing services and resources, it's kind of a big open ticket. What is that, Dan?
Exactly,
Yeah.
it's someone in need, like, it's not medically,
I need to be
necessity.
included in your process.
Perfect. Yeah, and in the meantime, if you ever need anything and you can ask law enforcement to request that through the dispatch desk at 911, and that's the current process. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. I mean, I think it's a sound good for all of us. See, I just think we're excited about this. We took that step forward with the program a few years ago. And this is the next natural step, kind of working in partnership and recognizing that the police have been, as you said, responding to calls that are kind of outside of what their typical training, what they're there for. And so to have people who are more contextualized to address some of those concerns, I think is a help to every community.
Would it be appropriate to make a motion that direct Greg to write a letter on behalf of the council welcoming them?
So
Do they need a letter?
That's
I
what
don't
it
think they
said.
need.
Well, we don't need-
Okay.
If Greg likes letter.
My question though would be, maybe, Karen, do you think we need to pass a resolution to work with them? Is that necessary on the county's end?
From other municipalities that have asked that question, because there's not an exchange of funds for the program, it hasn't been necessary to them. But again, if that is what is your norm, that also works for us. I want to have an answer for you, but I don't.
I mean, that would make it more formal, that you could also direct the chief, just a motion that he needs to avail himself of some county resources. Direction of the chief as well.
So it would be like, I would make a motion for our chief of police to incorporate the 18 into our police response team.
Second.
Yes.
And we're able to vote on this as the non-regional police board.
Well, that's what I was gonna say next.
Because I was gonna say, like, as the borough.
I've already talked to.
Right, okay.
It might be that.
Well, it's on the table, discussion, I mean, the question is, I think we can vote on it, whether we have the authority or not.
We should have already told December.
Yeah, you do get the authority to help them, they can operate as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just can't buy them, right?
Yeah.
Then will that begin immediately?
It usually depends on how long it takes to get into trained staff. In some places, we've been able to schedule it the next week and then we launch a week or two after that. Other places, it will be several months to like get on the book, so it'll just depend on holiday schedules. Yeah. But should be pretty quick. Month or. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and vote. All in favor of approving the motion as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was our pre-business. Let's move on to our council actions, minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of the October 29th, 2025 council agenda meeting and the November 5th, 2025 council.
Second,
Any discussion? Let's vote. All in favor of approving the motion as read, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's go down to finance.
I move to approve the Borough of Swissville paid bills in the amount of $699,255.38.
Second.
Any discussion?
Gotta pay them bills.
All right, let's vote. All in favor of approving the motion as read, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move to approve ordinance 25-15, authorizing the incurring of a non-electoral debt by the issuance of a general obligation note in the aggregate of principal amount not to exceed $2,500,000 for an interest-only period of 24 months from closing.
Second,
Any discussion? This is basically the loan, the bridge loan, I think we called it, in other, discussions for the RCAP reimbursement, grant that we are going to get. So hopefully, we don't need to use this full thing, if we can get certain reimbursements throughout the process, perhaps we can use very little of this, but this at least will fully fund the building while we work that process, so. Ready to vote? All in favor of approving the motion as read, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's move down to personnel.
I move to appoint Mickey McGlasson to a 2-year term of the Transportation Advisory Committee, effective immediately and expiring on December 31st, 2027.
second,
Any discussion?
It's interesting stuff. It's a good addition.
I agree. All in favor of approving the motion as read, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting schedule.
I move to advertise a special virtual meeting to be held on December 18th at 7 p.m. for the purposes of adopting the 2026 borough budget and all associated ordinances, resolutions, and to give Josh one more time to spend.
One more Zoom.
One more Zoom.
second,
Discussion, some of this I know we talked about before the meeting, budget presentation. All right, all in favor of approving the motion as read, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move to approve the 2026 meeting schedule as presented to council.
second,
Any discussion? All in favor of approving the motion as read, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Great. Quick work. All right, let's get down to our reports, COG report, Ms. Dribbling.
The meeting in November, so no cloud report. That's my report.
Report. All right, we'll keep moving along. Connect report, Dr. Alfonso Love.
yeah, so, we were approved once again to, do the composting project. And there's gonna be a huge, big composting thing that we get in our neighborhood, so eventually, soon, we're gonna have to decide where we wanna put it so that people can compost here in Swissvale. So that is what Connect is working on with us right now. So see. Other than that, they're having a lot of meetings about budgets and holidays and all kinds of things. So the great stuff.
Is this the same program we had before or a different program?
Talking about clean air council. That did the three, has the 3 bins.
No, the big thing is.
Oh, Ecotone.
And Ecotone Renewables.
Is this the same? Yeah.
They were.
Okay, that's wrong.
Yeah. Well, thank you
Well,
for that report. We'll keep moving to the president's report. There's a lot coming up, but I don't want to steal any of the mayor's thunder, so I'm not gonna share any of it. I'll let her do it, but we are having an executive session following this to discuss personnel matters. And that's my report. Here's the report.
All right, just a reminder to everybody, this weekend, Saturday, December 6th, we have Nebby on Noble from 12 to 3. Where we go to Noble Street and visit all the participating businesses, and there'll be a market at the Steel Mill Distillery. And so I encourage everyone to get Nebby on Noble and participate in that afternoon, and then come down to the Swissvale Fire Department for Light Up Night and Vendor Market. That's also Saturday, December 6th from 5 to 8. There'll be crafts, refreshments, photos with Santa, tree lighting at 7. And I encourage everyone to come on by and support that. Then on December 21st, that is a Sunday, it's the 6th annual Blue Santa. Swissvale has coordinated with local police departments, and we hand out toys to families in need. And that is Sunday, December 21st from 11 to 1 at Woodland Hills High School parking lot. Anything else I missed from that? From that? No. And I'd also like to extend a thank you to Josh and Fred for their service to Swissvale. You guys have done an amazing job, and it's been a pleasure. And today we went to AAA luncheon. We got, Swissvale has got platinum award for the past 15 years that I know of. Prior to that, they were gold and silver awards. And thank you, Swissvale Police Department, for keeping our streets safe and for getting this award. And that's my report. Any questions, comments, or additions? Chris, did I miss anything?
At some time.
And I'd like to just extend a happy holiday to everyone, safe holidays, and a happy new year. And Friday, decorate the tree.
Trees already there.
Well, then I'll put my additions. You picked out a beautiful tree, by the way. It's really, so thank you for all of that. And that's my report.
Thank you. All right, let's keep moving to the borough manager's report, Mr. Bastian.
Nothing as fun as what the mayor has presented. I did attend a meeting today concerning Commercial Street Bridge, the closing of that. The bridge, they did announce the dates, July 10th and in the evening, it's Friday evening, the closure through August 3rd would open up on the morning of Monday, August 3rd. So if you want to schedule your vacations, July 10th to August 3rd, a good time to be not here.
That's for the.
Wow. So that's the, when they take out the bridge before the tunnels and move the new one in, over 25 days. Commercial Street will be closed through February, going to reopen in mid-February till mid-June. For about a 4-month period, where we'll reclose again mid-June and be closed until mid-August. So by the end of August, they should have the bridge in place, they should have Commercial Street and the trail below the bridge reopened. So that's as of today. And they just announced those things today. Washington Street Bridge, steel, they said, has been completed. We are working to acquire a couple of properties that they need because of an issue that came up with working with the railroad to acquire those. Hopefully we can get that taken care of quickly. Borough building, based on the amount of money that has been billed on the project, we're about 35 to 37% complete on that. Go by there every day, you see, there's workers there every day. Very impressed with the contractors right now. They haven't had any issues with them, so we're moving forward, still moving. the right direction. The roof is almost done. They almost had it done before it snowed. So they're hoping next week, get a couple, in 2 dry days, they said they finished the roof. And the exterior sealed in. The last thing, we do have some surplus equipment for sale, sitting at the borough office for a while. So if anybody's interested in an old F-250, a Caprice with a blown motor, or a very nice 2005 Lexus, what's the call? It's on municipal bid for bids, and that will be in the paper next week as, it's required advertising. So that stuff, we do have bids on the truck and on the Caprice. The nice car that's runs the inspector, we have no bids on. So interestingly enough, the not so nice stuff people are jumping on. So
Are any of them diesel?
the Lexus,
The Lexus is diesel.
oh, diesel, I thought you said the wrong side.
No,
They
I
are,
hope they're all legal at some point.
oh, no, the Caprice and the truck are not legal, I mean, they're not inspected. The Lexus is a gasoline engine, but it is inspected until next year.
But none of them are diesel.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason I keep asking is because if we get rid of a diesel truck or vehicle, we can apply to the county for one.
We do have that garbage truck we need to dispose of, which is diesel, but I think because it's total, they won't, they probably won't accept that one.
They might. Okay.
I mean, we can hang on to it just to see.
Don't say how right.
I mean, it does run, I mean,
Well, that's all it takes.
yeah.
That literally is all it takes.
I mean, we can hold on one, I don't think.
Found it.
The insurance company paid us over $40,000 for it, we'll probably get 15-20 and sell it. I mean, if we could use it to exchange it for a new brand new truck, we can try.
Drill that out, Jordan.
Yeah, get the heavy burger out, trickle that clock, that's all I have.
All right. Just real quick.
Yeah.
Can we advertise or at least put out on our socials or on our net, on our, whatever, on our socials, et cetera, the delay to the Washington Bridge? We're getting a lot of questions about it. We explain to the best how what we're able to, not obviously what properties we're trying to acquire or what amounts.
Yeah, I can do a blurb on there, say where, what's going on.
Yeah.
I can't get specific, but I can.
Right, right. Thank you. That's because people are asking and I know, we are on it. Still have.
Information, I think is helpful.
A hiccup.
Let's move on to the Borough Engineers Report, Mr. Siskow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really don't have a lot to report this evening. My written report updates a lot of the activities that were ongoing. We made a smart move last month when I suggested that we hold off with the Wilkins Avenue concrete sidewalk. Winter came much quicker than we thought it was going to. Other than that, I'd just like to wish everybody a happy holiday season. Whatever you celebrate, may it be joyous and happy.
Thank you.
3, 2.
It's time for the Water Authority report, Ms. Tommy Collins.
This is an overview of the Wilkins Park Pendleton Water Authority board meeting that occurred on November 25th. The 2026 budget was approved with a 3% residential and 5% commercial industrial rate increase and a 5% increase for bulk water. The operating budget is $39,410,381.85. The capital improvement budget is $19,440,100. And public comment, Daryl Rapp actually introduced himself to the board as he's the latest member of the Customer Advisory Committee ahead of their December 9th meeting. PennVest Grant Phase 3, 209 replacements occurred since the last update. For Phase 4, the application was submitted, PennVest dates at the end of January. Mainline breaks, there were 48 system-wide, 2 in Swissvale. There were 201 distribution service or repairs, 4 were in Swissvale. We had a reorganization of officers with a change to the chair, secretary, and assistant secretary. There is no December board meeting, so unless something happens, I won't have a January report. Other business was conducted. The documents are on the website. And if you see a water problem or have a water problem, please call the authorities customer service at 412-243-62. That's my report. Any questions?
Who are the new officers?
The chairman of the board is Vivian Rose, who represents Forest Hills. The secretary was the assistant secretary is Phil Scolari from Penn Hills. And the assistant secretary is Dodie Smith from Penn Hills.
Thank you so much.
Happy holidays.
Holidays. Solicitors report, Mr. McTiernan.
Mr. President, I have two items. One is some good news. We applied for a tax exemption on the food bank building on Noble Street that we acquired to continue that service. And we thought it would be routine, but the county decided to do an investigation. And this week they came through with an approval, so that'll be tax exempt based on governmental purposes. So we had some tax bills we pulled. That'll take care of that. And also, there was an out-of-town company, Equity Investments, which brought a lawsuit in Swissvale in retaliation for vigorous code enforcement by the borough. They sued for lost rents and repair costs, and that case was thrown out this week and and, you know, the thing when you're a solicitor, so many things are either confidential because they're personnel or lawyer-client privilege because they're litigation. So it's nice to have two items that I can report without, to the public. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for the invite to your holiday party. It was a lovely evening and it's the best party of the year. So we really enjoyed it. Thank you again.
We'll have bus. Swag. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, after making that comment after I made the comment, I have noticed an uptick on social media and keeping people helping their neighbors, to clean their walks. And I went to do, one of my back neighbors and someone had already gotten it, so that's really, really good. I will make an announcement in our Swiss Valiant, so that people can see and continue to help. And for open spaces, they are still doing interviews with Swiss Valiants to see how you use the spaces around. Very, very quick interviews. They're not long. They can come here or it can be virtual, depending on what you want. So I will reach out a hand to those who I know and reach out a hand to everybody on council, so that they can see how you're using the spaces in the neighborhood. They are doing, and we want students to be able to get their interviews before the semester is over, if possible. You know, the semester for Pitt ends on the 16th, or actually they're mostly gone by then. We give our final exams next week. So this is the last week of class. So if you're available, I will be sending out an invitation and then connect you to some folks on there. So don't be surprised if you hear from me, and then we'll connect you with it. But they need more people, and hopefully we can put out another announcement so that people are not shy. It's literally, they're just asking you what you do in your neighborhood. And I think people who've been here longer and short amount, whether or not you've been here for longer or shorter amounts of time, it just depends on which stage you're at in your life, right? Because I noticed when I did the interview that how I use the neighborhood now as opposed to my kids were like 3 and 5, is so different, right? The places that we travel to, where I'll go to, is different than what it is now, right? And so just listening, just hearing those things and reflecting really made me think about how our neighborhood is used. So I hope everybody gets a chance to participate, so that we can really build some legacy types of interviews so that they can build on how we want to use these spaces. Thank you, everybody.
Any other announcements?
I just want to thank Josh and appreciate it very good. I know we still have a lot of work to do, and I'm going to say you, but it's been a pleasure. I appreciate it. I was thinking about you all day. I already know about Fred, but thinking about specifically of the work that you did and how you did, you know, set a standard and was courageous in a lot of spaces. And I appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I won't go on a thing, but I appreciate it's funny. I was thinking back over my 4 years, and the very first person I sat down with when I decided I was running the spread. I invited
Wow.
Fred out for a drink, just to be like, hey, what's your vision for Swiss? Like, what is it you want? And, you know, and it's just, it's funny to see us both ending at the same time and whatnot, but yeah, I'm thankful for my time here. More than anything, I would say my pride in this community is higher than when I started, which I don't know if everybody who has been in elected office can say that, but it's the thing that has been most inspirational to me is the people of this community and the pride they have in Swissvale. You see it outside, you know, not being an elected official, but being an elected official, you see that even more. People are passionate. People love this community. People want to see this community succeed, and I do as well. So, you know, welcome to the incoming members. I'm excited to see what happens from here. So, thank you. Thank you.
I would welcome a motion to adjourn at 7:57 PM.
Motion to adjourn at 7:15.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?